Thanks for sticking it out in the sun. We know you guys are trying to get a little respite going in there, but hurry back, hurry back.
If you're in the audience, move up to the front. We don't bite, we promise. So my name is Beth. I'm Stagwell's Chief Brand and Communications Officer, and I am joined by the amazing Rennae Stubbs and Cari Champion. Let's give them a round of applause.
Yay! So excited to be here. Good to see you, Rennae.
Good to see you.
I see you every week. I see her every week, literally.
Where do you see each other? What are these cool parties
we
that
bump
we're
into
not
each
all
other at the
invited
club.
to?
You know how it is.
Yes, we're always at the same event.
Yeah.
And so we assume we'll start seeing you now. It's part of the zeitgeist that it'll be.
So before we jump into our topic, give the audience an update on what you are up to. Bring us up to date, Cari. What's new in your world?
You know, recently, and it would be great, I'm going to plug my latest podcast, it's called Naked Sports, but I'm doing a very interesting docu-series on Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. And I would love and it's about the way we consume women's sports. Women are allowed to compete as athletes, and I think so often we put these filters on how women should play the game, any game, not just in WNBA, but in tennis and in any sport. Women aren't allowed to have fun, trash talk, get gritty, compete, and I really want to change the way we consume women's sports. And those two ladies meet right at the intersection of literally authenticity, greatness, and unity, and I hope that their relationship goes for so long and we can see them do great things, and it'll change the way that we consume sports for all women's athletics.
But that does deserve a round of applause. I know that we're going to talk a lot about authenticity. Rennae, give everyone an update of what you're up to.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm continuing my ESPN work, covering the tennis. And I have my podcast. I'll plug my podcast, the Rennae Stubbs Tennis Podcast. But I like to get into some nitty-gritty stuff on that podcast. It's not just about tennis. But, you know, other than that, I'm also on the board of LPAC, which is a Lesbian Political Action Committee. We give, a lot of you probably, hopefully, have given money to that, to us. And our goal is to make sure that people that are making the bills, that are passing the bills, actually understand the LGBTQ plus community. And it's really important that we have politicians in there making those decisions for us, because if we don't have a seat at the table, we're not getting a lot of stuff done for our community. So I'm also a part of that, which is very important to me. And other than that, just supporting every person I know that I can. I think that we need to elevate each other at all times. We've had this conversation so many times, Cari and I, about particularly working in the television industry now. We need more women producers, more women executive producers, more women in the C-suites to help us elevate us in our TV lives as well, because we get passed over by several other people that may not look like us. So that's super important.
What's that like?
You know what that's like. So there you go.
Well, let's get into our main topic for today, which is how brands and athletes can collaborate. And I want to start with maybe an easy one, a recent or past athlete brand collaboration that you've thought was really smart. Cari?
There are a couple, and thank goodness, Beth and I were discussing this today. I'm gonna say two really quickly. Allison Felix, I think to me, I had an opportunity to interview her on my show, and she talked about how she didn't realize that women's tennis shoes, the actual make of women's tennis shoes were made out of men's sneakers. And so she created a line, her own line. She obviously partnered with a different company, but she created her own line, and the actual mold for the shoe was a women's mold. And she was like, I wanted to make something that was specifically for me. Her brand is all about making sure that women are allowed to be women and still compete, because there was so much shame with being a mother and an athlete. And she felt as if Nike had left her, not, you know, just to pick out anyone's name, but she felt like when she got pregnant, she was no longer of value. And so she wanted to make sure everything that she did with all of her partnerships were to empower women. So that was one. And then one that we talked about was Flauget. I interviewed our girl yesterday, and I don't know if you all know her. She is in college, but she is on LSU's team. She won a national championship. She's also an amazing.
Flauget Johnson.
Flauget Johnson is amazing. She is also just a talented person. And so I asked her, what branding looked like for her and what her future was. And she said, basketball's great, but it's probably going to be my second career. It's like the other thing. I really am an artist. And so she's been working with a lot of different artists, collaborating with Lil Wayne, and she was saying that that's where she wants to live. I thought that was really unique. There are very few collegiate athletes who can do those two things because they're two extremes. And we've seen on the professional level how so many athletes want to be rappers and rappers want to be athletes. I always say that it's a truth, but she is really both.
But she's doing
She's
it.
really both.
She's
She's really created this for herself. She was on Rap Game, which was a very popular TV show before she was even known as a basketball player, but she knew all the while this is where she would end up. And so I think she's very, very smart in her brand.
Well, we were delighted to have Flage and Allison Felix at Sport Beach, which is all about smart brand athlete collaborations. Rennae, how about you? What's something you've seen that looks well thought out to you?
Well, I want to just add on to the Flage thing as well. She also said and stated in Cannes this year that she wanted to stay on for as long as she could in college because the money she's making at NIL, but also she wants to get a master's degree. So I'm like, this kid is so special, so I wanted to add on to that. Yeah. But also for me, recently, the collaboration with American Eagle and Coco Gauff, I thought that was a brilliant collaboration. And one of the reasons is because Coco has been wearing American Eagle denim jeans, like literally her whole life. She loves them. And I don't know if it was her agency, her management company that actually approached them and said, why don't you do a collab? Or they came to her because the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, Chris, is a really big tennis fan. So I thought that was brilliant, and they just released some great photos with her in the denim skirt. It's very an ode to Serena as well. Yep. But I just thought it was a great collaboration. It is her age group, it is her demographic. She doesn't have to pretend. It is authentically, truly who Coco Gauff is. So I think if you're ever going to work with a brand, you have to be authentic, and that collaboration to me is brilliant. I also think New Balance have done a really good job with a lot of their athletes, including Coco, of just sort of taking over the younger generation. Everybody knows Nike, everybody knows, the Under Armours, but New Balance sort of dropped off there a little bit. So I just think the collaboration with the age group is really important as well. You're not gonna have Coco maybe do what Serena did with Lincoln, cars. That's sort of not the demo. But Serena's a great demo for that, being a mother, having children. So I think it's super important for athletes to really concentrate on making sure that when they brand together and they collab, that it's really authentic. And that, to me, those couple have been really outstanding.
So you mentioned Coco, who's at one stage in her career, Serena, who's in a completely different stage, and you are an amazing tennis player and are in a different stage. How do you think the opportunity for athletes has changed? I'm sure NIL is part of it, but before we get into NIL, how has it changed? What do you think is out there for athletes that just wasn't there?
Oh yeah, I mean, as Ashlyn already stated, social media is incredible. It's great. It's great for our businesses. It's great to connect with people, but it's also a horrific place to be sometimes. Trust me, I've had to live that life myself with being attacked on a regular basis for my opinions, but I don't care. But I think that now with social media, these young athletes become their own agencies. They become their own selves. They're not relying necessarily on an agent or a manager to say, hey, we've got this collab, because people come to them now through their social media. I mean, even myself on my website, I've gotten a lot of work, just people coming to my website, people writing to me on Instagram, people writing me messages on Twitter saying, hey, we love this, we love that about you, would you work with our brand? And I'm like, yeah, of course. But again, it's authentically for me, it's super important because they know exactly who I am. They know that I'm gay. They know that I'm outspoken. They know that I'm an Australian, but I live in the United States. So there's a lot of things that are very obvious for people to know. If that's what they come to me with, then that's what they want, and that's really important. So social media has been an incredible thing for that.
I'm going to be her manager because as she listed...
Yes. Rennae told me she does not have a manager.
I'm going to be your manager. There's so many things we can do right now.
We've got a volunteer in the audience.
Several. Look at that.
Including Ashlyn.
They just happen to be my friends.
Ashlyn.
So Cari, tell us about two women who are managing their lives impeccably, Angel and Caitlin. Have you gotten into how they think about themselves as brands, what their goals are in your show?
I think, yes. I think Angel is very clear about what she wants to do. Is that Angel coming?
It's my chopper.
Who is that right there? Is that
That's
Angel?
my chopper. Ashlyn, is that your chopper to take you back to
Who is
Jersey?
that dropping down on us? No? Got it. I think that Angel wants to, as she said before, she's even said this most recently, she likes to model, she likes to dress, she loves makeup. All of that is truly authentic to who she is. So I wouldn't be surprised if we would see more modeling in her future. She did Sports Illustrated, that makes sense. We would see a makeup line, that makes sense for her. I also think what's really interesting, and not just her, what I've noticed with some of these ladies, most of these ladies are really into how they appear in terms of their clothing. I always say something about Rennae. She's always dressed impeccably. I love the way she dresses. I'm asking her, it's a natural thing. Same with Ashlyn. I'm like, please dress me. Where's your clothing line? So what I love is the ownership of who they are and allowing their personalities to come through, and these brands find them because it just makes sense. It wouldn't make sense back in the day. So for instance, I work with JP Morgan as an ambassador, and I speak to marginalized women about saving their money. And it makes sense because if I'm single, I don't have kids, what do? I shop.
Really?
I don't know if you know that I'm single and I don't have kids. I would like to have both of those remedied, but I can't. But the point of the matter is that if you have all of this extra income, what are you doing? What's your relationship with money? And I talk about that just very honestly with my friends, so it makes sense. Those are just simple partnerships that make sense. And that's what I've noticed about these two ladies. Caitlin's basketball, did you see that the other day? Her basketball, her specially made Wilson basketball sold out in 40 minutes. To me,
I couldn't get one.
You tried to get one?
Yeah, I was on the site and I didn't know it was going to be a drop like that, which is my fault. I should have. It's Caitlin Clark. That was probably obvious, but 40 minutes was crazy.
40 minutes.
The entire state of Iowa bought every one of those.
They're all gone.
Yeah.
I'm very hopeful that we win Iowa. No offense, but I'm a Democrat. So I'm really hopeful that we win Iowa basically because Caitlin Clark liked Taylor Swift's endorsement of Kamala.
She liked the post,
So I'm like, we just won Iowa.
It's a wrap. It's done. It's done.
Cari, you mentioned makeup, and I think a brand that's doing really interesting work collaborating with athletes in unexpected ways is e.l.f. And Rennae, we were talking a little bit about what you've done with e.l.f. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a perfect example, right? e.l.f. Cosmetics is a major sponsor now of the Women's Sports Network on iHeartRadio, which I'm a part of. Cari's a part of.
Yes, I've read some commercials for them. Yeah.
Sarah Spain is doing Good Game on a daily, talking about women's sports only. And so e.l.f. came in, and they're an incredible partnership because they're also working with the Billie Jean King Foundation. They're putting their money where their mouths are, but because they're mostly C-suites women. So women are like, I don't know the percentage,
how those things are connected.
but it is such a high number of women that are making the decisions at e.l.f. Cosmetics to support women's sports and women's sports networks and women-owned companies. And
but they were doing it before it was popular.
Yeah.
There were a lot of these women at these companies who were saying, this is what needs to be done, and they saw the vision ahead of time, which I think is genius.
And e.l.f. has done NASCAR, the first makeup sponsor of NASCAR, which is maybe an unusual choice. You wouldn't necessarily think about it, and now they're expanding it.
Because there's a lot of women go to NASCAR. So this is what CMOs need to understand. Women are the ones that make the choices to buy shit, okay? They're the ones that decide what stuff is going to come in the house, maybe even what car you buy. You know, the husband thinks he's in control, but he knows he's not. So that's the companies need to understand that. And then when they go for a brand opportunity with an athlete, for a female, look how many people love Caitlin Clark. You know, so how many people love Angel Reese? These are the types of people. How many people love Ashlyn Harris? It's like you need to work with people that are actually really loved in the community, and that's what e.l.f. have done really well over the last decade. And Ally Bank, I have to say, Ally Bank as well.
Exactly. They've been a big sponsor for a very long time. I want to add to that. I have noticed that there are sometimes And it happens a lot obviously in our business. Athletes will go for a bag. It makes sense, right? You want to make some money. I'm going to go for this bag. But it never...
Bag meaning a payment.
A lot of money. Translation.
A bag of cash.
A bag of cash. Let's get this bag. They go for a bag, not a Gucci bag or a Fendi bag, but a bag of cash. Filled with money that they can buy a Chanel with. Exactly. But the reality is that sometimes it just doesn't work. I know a lot of women who try to partner with makeup lines, and it's like, well, why would I look? You don't wear makeup. Or if I see a woman in a high-end brand and she's an athlete, it feels forced to me. And that's what we've been trying to avoid.
I don't know, girl. I'd take that Louis Vuitton suit or something.
No, but there are women, and you know what I'm talking about, where if they're wearing the heels and they're doing it, it just doesn't, you don't have to do that because they have so many other opportunities there. I think you know what I'm saying. You look good, but you know.
Let's talk about
you always look good.
How NIL has totally changed. John, 1 minute. Let's talk about how NIL has changed.
I have so many things I could say right now, but I'm going to let it go.
The floor is yours.
No. Go ahead. Ask the question.
Just for those paying attention, Cari is stroking Rennae's leg. So pivot. NIL has changed the game in terms of opportunities available to all athletes. Maybe particularly female athletes who are already underrepresented, but tell me how you see NIL changing the game in tennis and something that you've seen as well.
I think NIL has really made it more, as you mentioned earlier about our girl Flaugier, made it popular for people to want to stay in school. I do like that idea. And whether it is a money bag, you're still going to be able to get an education. I think it's a win-win. I also feel that these athletes come out of college much more confident, and they also, to me, appear to have more ownership in the sport that they are in. There was a story, and I don't know if you all read this story, about how and we'll keep using Caitlin Clark, but after they won, or lost rather, the team went on a tour. They were in Croatia, and they were talking about all the things that they wanted to do. And Caitlin wanted to cheer up the team, and with some of her NIL money, she just rented this yacht, this unbelievable yacht, and they all went out and just hung out and had a good time. And I like that idea. Right. I like that. I work so hard because I do believe that their collegiate experience is going to be different from their pro experience. Flaugier said, I feel like it's harder in college to go to school, to play ball, to stay on a schedule, to do all the other things. Your schedule is laid out. And she was like, and sometimes we just want to feel like we have some ownership of what we can do. And NIL has changed that in terms of their personal freedom and how they move. But it also changes your life. What if you don't go pro? You still have this money to set aside. You can start a business. You learn how to manage your money in a really good way. And I think that these are really true life lessons that you weren't getting before in college, especially as an athlete in college.
Rennae, one of the things I'd love for you to reflect on is the equity of how that money is flowing, or inequity right now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all know the Livy Dunns who are making millions and millions of dollars because she's absolutely gorgeous. She speaks well. And get it, girl. Get your bag, right? I mean, I'm all good for that. But I would like to see someone, I'm sure, on that same team who doesn't look like her, who may look like a little bit, maybe not like Cari, because Cari's.
That's not fair.
This is a special one here. But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But it's like I really hope that other athletes also get that distribution of NIL money, and I feel like the Caitlin Clarks and the Livy Dunns and people that look like me get, that are white, get more opportunity than people that are of color, that don't get the same opportunities with the NIL deals just because. And so I hope that brands understand that there are people out there that want to follow an athlete, a Simone Biles, and say, I mean, Simone's an exception, so that's an exception to the rule. But when you have the NIL deals, I hope that it's distributed amongst the athletes a little bit more than just centering on one person. So I don't know how we can work on that better. To get it distributed a little bit more evenly in the teams. If you have a football team, a soccer team, a gymnastics team, that's a team, a basketball team. If you're going to pile all your money into one player on that team because they're white and they're pretty and they're great speakers, that's great. But maybe think about the collaboration with the team because she is part of a team. So that's important. But I will say, just adding on the NIL deals, boy, for someone like in the WNBA, Diana Taurasi or Sue Bird, we're talking like OGs in the WNBA, and you know,
Right.
Teresa Witherspoon. You think about all these OGs. It's like they had to go to Russia to make, you know, they were making upwards of $1 million, these players going over there.
In Russia.
It's an enormous amount of money, right? But that's why they were going, that's why BG got detained, because she's trying to go over there and make money for her family.
NIL wasn't a possibility
She's making,
for her.
the top earner of the WNBA is making $250,000. Like, what are we talking about here? What is happening? So that's why they're going over there to make $1 million.
Right.
So the NIL deals are allowing the Caitlin Clarks, the Angel Reeses, you know, the Paige Buckers, who's going to come out as well,
Yeah.
to already have $1 million or $2 or $3 in their
Yeah.
bank account. They don't need to go anywhere else. They can focus on the WNBA, they can promote the WNBA, and they can make a difference. And that will be, in my opinion, that will be the difference maker for someone and the WNBA.
That's right.
So let's talk about another difference maker in athletes' pocketbooks, brands. What advice would you give to a brand that is trying to figure out who to partner with, whether or not they're looking at a younger athlete, a more established athlete? Like, what are the keys when you're talking to brands?
I think what she just said is very key. What brand, like you're talking about the inequity, how Olivia Dunn may be getting all the money, and then the other athletes who are on the other pages aren't getting any money. That also existed in tennis. Her and I talked about that. I'm getting to your question. When Serena was world number one, and she wasn't getting all the deals, and Maria was, and she was clearly the winner and the better player in so many different ways. I think brands should look for the winner, not just the person who's actually worthy,
Right.
the one who is actually doing well, because they do have a very different type of fan base. They may not have 3 million followers or 4 million followers, but if you pay attention to their fan base, it sounds counterintuitive, but I know you understand this. The more niche you become, the more people are willing to ride with you, to be
Yes.
with you,
If
to
you're
do what
niche
you
and
want.
you've got that
Niche to
group,
me,
yeah.
and you have this group. If you're like, hey, I like purple shoes, everyone go buy these purple shoes, you're gonna see a response from obviously the people who follow them, their fans, and the people within their networking group. And so I think it's important for brands to look for people who have very specific niches, and you should not just go for how many followers you have. If you're looking for someone who is a disruptor and who has the ability to speak to different people and meet them in different ways, know that everyone who
Right.
follows them does exactly that. I think that's something they don't look for, and that evens out the score, and it's not just the Olivia Dunns of the world or the Caitlin Clarks of the world.
So either go with the big winner or go niche. Don't be in the messy middle.
Don't be in the middle, because what can you do in the middle? What's gray?
Yeah,
No
I
one
lo-
likes to be in the middle seat.
I love that. I hadn't thought about it like that, and I think that's so true. You know, sometimes the winners don't get picked, but you know, probably one of the greatest sports branding collaborations that's ever happened in the history of sports, without question, is Stan Smith. Okay, when you think about how many Stan Smith shoes are out there right now, I mean,
Raise your
probably several, right?
100%.
Stan Smith won a Wimbledon title. Fantastic, amazing. He was nowhere near the player of a Jimmy Connors, of so many players back in that day, Rod Laver. Well, Rod Laver ended up getting his own shoe, but eventually. But someone like Billie Jean King, who finally got her shoe from Adidas, finally, she should have had a shoe probably first before anyone, because she was wearing them for so long. But Stan Smith is a perfect example of, he wasn't necessarily a winner. He was a very good-looking young man. That helped. But his agent went in, and I don't know if there's a documentary on it. It's kind of obscure. It's not great. But but
So
because
you're
they
gonna
because
summarize
they
it
lost the
for
plot
us.
of the documentary, which it was about the shoe and the ability to be able to go to Adidas and say, collaborate with Stan.
Yep.
And they signed that deal, and that's one of the most monumental sports deals branding probably ever, I would say, other than maybe Air Jordans.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But Stan Smith was the original of
Yeah.
that. And so companies need to also understand that you can find the niche there as well and say, this guy is going to sell these shoes for us. And now he's got a lot of money
Yeah.
based on every time one of those shoes gets sold. And that was a brilliant deal from his management
You know
team.
more for the shoes than you do for tennis.
Yeah, there was a great article that was written in my friend's magazine, Racket Magazine. It said, Stan Smith is a shoe. People think he's a shoe. He's like,
people,
I'm
he
not a
is a
shoe.
shoe.
I'm actually a human being.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
and-
that's funny. That's funny.
I think he was also taken seriously by the brand as a collaborator, as a creative force. And sometimes when we have brands doing deals with athletes, that isn't true. Even with all of the power that an athlete has now, sometimes brands just, they want the face slap, the endorsement. But
again, that shoe is authentically him.
It is. He was
It's really
absolutely
authentically him.
taking
And
this
he's
seriously as a creator.
Like if I wanted to, I think a perfect brand for this one, if I was working for you, do you mind me giving you a massage?
I need that.
Okay. There are a couple of Australian designers that I really love, and I would see them wanting to, because you have such great style. The first thing that I would think of is have you work with one of these Australian designers. I'm going to be your manager. When I think of it, it just makes sense.
Okay, you're going to have to beat off Daniela Kalmeyer, who's out in the audience, because Daniela likes to put a few clothes on me too.
Okay,
but we can talk, Cari. We can talk.
But it just makes sense because it's to me it's niche. She has this sport. Tennis comes across very elegant. It comes across very, but still very accessible, depending on what slam that you're at. And it also is something that she's obviously genuinely known for because she's a legend in it. And it just to me is a no-brainer. While she may not have 20 million followers on social media, everyone would ride with what you said that you were putting out because they would trust you and who you are because it's authentically who you are.
Well, let's go down that path. Beyond Rennae and the Australian fashion designer to be named, what is a collaboration that you would love to see between a brand and an athlete?
Oh, I mean, there's so many, honestly. I think I just saw, actually, funny enough, I saw Flage's Instagram today, and she was promoting Tampax. And I was like, yes, girl, you get that free stuff for life. But, well, until you hit menopause, then you don't worry about that anymore. And then you work on a menopause brand.
A different brand campaign.
But that's the sort of stuff I'd like to see. I'd like to see brands that really understand that this is a young woman, that every young woman deals with having a period.
Right.
So I just think, talking about those things, putting out there, so those collaborations to me are super important. I just think authentic collaborations are really important for the young athletes, and then the older ones can start looking at brands that actually mirror their lives right now. And I bring up Lincoln with Serena, and she's been a great, and she's had Audemars Piguet as a watch brand for a long time. And I remember the people from Audemars Piguet, they said to me, one of the things they love about Serena is that, tennis is known as a really white sport. Rolex is such a tremendous sponsor of a lot of tennis events, and particularly the Grand Slams. And here's Serena, who's just such a, she's such that lightning rod in a bottle, and she's sponsored by AP. So she's kind of like taken her own brand away from the Rolexes. So I think things like that are really important.
I think a hair brand would be good for a Meg Rapinoe, someone who always is doing you know what I mean. You think
she had pink hair last week, blue
whatever
hair.
she wants, and we see that with a lot of different athletes. They express themselves with what they look like in terms of their hair, and I think that's just a no-brainer right there. Like a Head and Shoulders, or somebody who has a great head of hair, or when I think of when I think of Angel Reese, maybe an eyelash line. The first thing that I'm thinking,
call Elf,
or mascara, or all the things that they really truly are. Not that I am a fan of such, but
I think Wheels Up also did a great job with getting their players and their athletes on private jets from time to time. That was a smart move from them, because athletes don't have a lot of time to get to and from their events. So I think that was a really smart move from them. And NetJets, all of that sort of stuff.
We don't see a lot of medical or pharmacy endorsements with athletes. And I know a lot of athletes talk about mental health, and that's a thing for them.
I think wellness is unexplored
I think
universe.
Wellness is so unexplored outside of wearing yoga outfits or whatever your workout
I
regimen
got my
is.
coconut water and my athleisure.
Sure, but it's unexplored, and I feel like so many athletes actually live truly authentically to that, and that's one of those other niche areas where you can really make great money and see a perfect branding relationship.
Well, I think that is going to be our last word. So stay out of the middle. Let's give our panelists
Thanks, guys.
a big round of applause. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.